Hi, hello. We have got for you today the top 5 eyeshadow palettes. I'm slowly working my way through the top 5 of everything. So we did a foundation, concealer, and I think that's as far as I've got so far. So I've been busy compiling lists of eyeshadow palettes that are my favourites, and I've also done bronzer and highlighter and setting spray. So I shall get those videos done, and they'll be going up. Well, I have no idea when, but let's just start with this one first. So, top 5 eyeshadow palettes. Now, the ones that I've chosen, they're all sort of like mid-range. Some are a little bit more expensive than others, but I haven't included any of my cheap eyeshadow palettes like the Revolution ones or the Barry M ones. I haven't included those in this mix because whilst I like them, I still find that the more money you spend on decent quality eyeshadows, the better they are. So whilst I do like the cheaper varieties, I use them as a transition shade or something like that. Most of the eye looks that you've seen me do are all using more sort of like top end mid-range eyeshadows. I just find that they are more pigmented and they blend nicer. So if you want some advice, I would always spend a little bit more on eyeshadow palettes. You know, you can find some that are decent. Barry M specifically, their new Wildlife palettes are really nice. But you know, because of the shade range as well, like with the Barry M palettes, they're about £7 and you get I'll just show you in a minute. And you get like 9 shades, so it's not too bad in the grand scheme of things. However, the more that the slightly pricier ones that I've got to show you have a lot more shades in them. So when you taking into consideration things that you want out of an eyeshadow palette, when you're spending sort of like 20-30 quid on one, you really are getting value for money because you get closer to sort of like 30 shades than just 9. And they're obviously you know, some of the brands that I'm going to show you, the eyeshadows are really, really great quality. So let's just get into it then, because I'm kind of like rambling on now. This is what I've got on today. I've just done this like weird green eyeliner because, you know, the weather is miserable. And I always find like I've got that kind of like sad disorder where I get miserable when the weather's miserable. And no one likes to be miserable. So a bit of bright eyeliner and I feel better. And a Lynyrd Skynyrd t-shirt, because, you know, who doesn't like Lynyrd Skynyrd? Anyway, so the first one, like I always say on my top five videos, my number 5 might not be your number 5. That might be the one for you. And because it's at number 5 doesn't mean I like it any less. It's just that the ones at number 1, like my favourites, they've took precedence for whatever reason. So don't think that it's the last one because it's not very good. So then, so my number 5 is the Morphe 350 or 350 palette, whatever you like to call it. These are £24 and I think I bought this one from Beauty Bay, but you can get it from Morphe directly, or you can get it from Beauty Bay, or just, you know, go on Google shopping and have a look. Anyway, so the reason I like this palette is obviously it's got all the kind of like orangey warm tones in it. And they are matte and shimmer, so you've got a lot of matte shades in there, but you've also got some really sort of like nice shimmer shades in there. There are 35 in this as well, that's what I'm kind of saying. So it's 24 quid, but you get 35 shades. Obviously these are about £7 and you get 9, so you are getting value for money because you're getting a lot of shades, and there's so many different sort of like tones. So you've got kind of like warm browns and cool browns, so that you can really work it to your skin tone and obviously the style that you're going for. Each shade as well is in a 1-inch pan, so you get quite a lot of eyeshadow in there. You know, it's not like a teeny tiny little sort of square thing. You're getting quite a lot of product in that pan, with it being 1 inch in size. what I like most about it, it's cruelty free. So, you know, you're doing your bit for the environment as well. You're not supporting anything disgusting like that. But what I like most about this is that the powders are really buttery, so they blend perfectly. If you want to, if you're using it as a transition shade, for example, and you know you're sort of trying to blend it out really well into the brow bone, and obviously any other colours. I mean, I usually use sort of like browns, warm browns for transition shades, so they're perfect for that because they are so buttery and blendable, but they don't lose any pigment. Sometimes you can find that when a eyeshadow is really blendable, that you can blend away the pigment, and then you can kind of like over blend, and then you can't really see the colour that you were going for on the eyelid. But with these, you've got that really sort of like easy blendable powder to work with. At the same time, it's an intense pigment, so it really does keep the colour. You're not going to lose it through blending it out. So that's my number 5. Obviously, they do, Morphe do so many different palettes. You could be sat there forever in a day trying to pick one. I chose this one because it's full of warm brown shades, and I think it was like autumn at the time as well. And everybody was kind of like wearing this orangey, sort of like reddy orangey eye look, which was dead nice. And I could not for love and money find an eyeshadow, because I was kind of like shopping at Superdrug and things, and I could not find an eyeshadow that replicated the colours that I was seeing on Instagram. And then I came across this and I thought, wow, that's got like every single colour that I need for this season and for the looks that I had in my mind. So I bought this one, but they do so many other different colour sort of like tones. So obviously this is toned specifically for browns and warm browns. You've got all those kinds of shades in, but they do like a 35p, which is plum shades. So it's got kind of like plum colours, purpley colours, and it's got kind of like cool brown shades, warm brown shades. It's got everything that goes on that sort of like colour scheme. They do a taupe one, which is obviously self-explanatory. They've got a bright one. So you've got so much choice to pick with the palettes. It's not just about the 350, 350, whatever you want to call it. And they're all like 24 quid. They do some slightly smaller ones as well, which are a little bit cheaper. But like I say, you're getting value for money. You're getting 35 shades, and you've got that mix of matte and shimmer as well, so you've got kind of like everything in there that you could possibly want. So moving on then, so the next one on my list, my number 4, is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette, and I've had this for ages. So mine's kind of like because this is like a suede kind of velvet material on the front of it, and mine started to wear off there because I've got like OCD with palettes. I have to clean the fronts, and I don't like them to look dirty. You know, most of the time people just do it on the inside, but no, I have to clean mine on the outside. So this has unfortunately lost its colour and started to lose its covering as well. Right, so this one has got 14 shades. This is probably, I think it is the most expensive. Yes, this is the most expensive palette on my list. So this is £46 for 14 shades. But you can see the shades are quite varied. So they all sort of like work around this mix of pinks, deep browns, reds. Sort of like you've got some shimmer shades in there. I think there's one, it might just be 2 actually. There's 2 shimmer shades in there, Vermeer and Primavera, if that's how you pronounce those. One's like a sort of like a pearly pink shimmer, and the other one is like a goldy bronze shimmer. So you've got a shimmer to work with each kind of matte tone that you're using. But these are they're like metallic as well, so they've got really, really strong pigment when you put them on. But they are fantastically pigmented. So the deep reds and the pinks, they're the kinds of ones that will stain your eyes, especially if you're doing like a heavy sort of like pinky reddy look. They do stain. That's how pigmented they are. And sometimes you can get quite frightened of using a super pigmented eyeshadow because you kind of run the risk of not being able to blend the colour out properly. But that's not an issue with any of the Anastasia Beverly Hills products that I've ever used, eye products, eyeshadows, because they are so blendable. You're not battling against the pigment because it's quite intense. This is also cruelty free, so that's another good thing about it. But I tell you, one of the favourite things I like about this, what I use it for, should I say, is weddings. It's got all the sort of bridal shades in, perhaps not like obviously the bright pink, but I don't know. I guess if you want to use bright pink, you can use bright pink on your wedding day. It's no biggie. I wore bright red lipstick because, you know. So, but it's got all the kinds of shades, and it's my go-to palette when I do a bride. I will take this one with me because I know that it's got every single shade in there that I could possibly need for a sort of like a neutral, natural, glowy makeup. So yeah, but it is really expensive. You don't get as many shades as you do with the Morphe. That's 35 and this is 14. So, but you're paying like double the price. This is 46 quid. But you pay for what you get. You pay for what you get with eyeshadow. I find anyway, I've always found that the more money I've spent, I don't go insane. You know, if it was like 60 quid on a palette, I'd be like, not really, I'm not gonna spend that much. But the kind of like 40, like 20 to 40 mark is where I normally sit with eyeshadow palettes, because I tend to find that they are the best quality. The cheaper they are, the less great they are. However, there are exceptions. Obviously some Makeup Revolution palettes are fab, and the Barry M as well. But yeah, I tend to find the 20 to 30 mark is normally what I budget for one, as long as it's got like a decent shade range in it. But the Anastasia Beverly Hills was a one-off kind of exception for me, because obviously there's only 14 shades, but it was so nice, and I found every single colour so appealing, because I know that I can get like great amounts of use out of it, particularly with bridal. Right, so the next one on my list is the Juvia's Place. This is the Warrior 2 palette, and this one retails at $19.50, and this is another one that I bought from Beauty Bay. So this is $19.50 from Beauty Bay. Now then, I'm raving about having loads of like shade range and stuff, aren't I? And this one has only got 9. So contradiction. Anyhow, so this has got 9 shades in it. And what I like most about this palette is that it's great for neutral looks, like natural looks. So they're all matte as well, which is another good thing, because whilst I do like shimmery shades and like metallic shades and kind of like all that jazz, sometimes I tend to find that they can make my eyelids look like my eyes are massive, and I already think they're big anyway. So I like to use matte more than anything. So this is one that's kind of like for me. But if I'm doing this sort of like warm smoky brown look on anybody, which I do regularly, obviously when I'm allowed to work, which I do regularly for like a night out. It's like night out makeup. Everyone wants a warm brown smoky eye. So I'm like, yes, warm brown. Oh, you want a warm brown smoky eye? There's nothing wrong with a warm brown smoky eye. It's like one of those things that I'll do 6 times a day, and then by the end of it, I don't want to even sniff a warm brown smoky eye. But this palette is great for that, because there's like every single shade you could want for any style of warm brown smoky eye, including you've got this like pop of like sort of like coral orange kind of colour going on in the middle here, and then you've got the whole like monotone shade range. So you've got like a white, a taupe, a black, and then you've got a grey as well. So it's good for anything to do with sort of neutral, natural or smoky. But like I say, it's $19.50, so it's almost £20. It's not a massive outlay. However, you do only get the 9 shades. So when you're thinking of like 9 shades at 7 quid to 9 shades at 20 quid, a lot of people are going to go for the cheaper option, obviously, aren't they? But you get your money's worth in terms of pan size. I mean, look how big those pans are. They're huge. They're sort of double the size of the ones in the Morphe palette. So you're kind of getting a lot in terms of amounts in the pan. it's also cruelty-free and vegan, so that's another bonus. But the shades are, again, they are really blendable and buttery. They're not too dusty, so sometimes you'll find like you'll get a nice eyeshadow and whilst it's pigmented, it's dead dusty, so you get like a ton of fallout. And you know, sometimes you can lose that colour when you're blending it out. But I don't find that with this. There's not a great deal of fallout, and they are still really blendable and pigmented as well. So it's a good quality eyeshadow. So my second to last, this is one of my favourites. It's actually my newest eyeshadow palette, but I think I've used this one like every time I've done an eye look, just recently, to be fair. I've not used it today because it didn't have the shade specifically that I wanted, but I do use it all the time. So this is the Me, Myself and the Mitchell. Mitchell. I can't even say it in one go. The Me, Myself and Mitchell palette. So this is £30. This is also from Beauty Bay. You can, when you listen to me talk, you can kind of gather where I do most of my shopping, my online shopping. So we've got Beauty Bay, Look Fantastic, and Cult Beauty, and then I sometimes go on like direct websites for like Barry M, Morphe or whatever, but I tend to stick to those like 3 websites because that's where I get the most offers, and things are obviously sometimes reduced. But Look Fantastic, they do have a lot of like outlet priced things, so I often find that stuff is cheaper on there. I'm talking that fast that I've got dry mouth. Anyway, okay, right, better. Yeah, so the Me, Myself and Mitchell palette. In this one, there are 32 matte and shimmer shades, and my favourite thing about it is that it has a little mirror inside of it. So you kind of like, it's like a book. So you've got your palette, and then you just slip your mirror in there and close it up. So when you take it like out with you for work, well, I do, when I take it out to work with me, I've always got that little mirror where I can show the client what I've done. Or, you know, for you guys at home, you've always got a little mirror tucked in there, and it's kind of like a little book, so it's a bit weird, but I like it. Anyway, moving on. So 32 matte and shimmer shades. I am cheating, I have lists, because I have a terrible memory, so if I keep looking down, that's why. Anyway, so 32 matte and shimmer shades. These are pressed pigments, so this is a pressed pigment palette. I'm not entirely sure myself of what the difference is between an eyeshadow and a pressed pigment. However, I know that when I buy pigments from Peaches Makeup, they are often a lot more pigmented than like an eyeshadow palette. So I think that's the whole kind of point with this one, is that they're really, really pigmented, hence them being pressed pigments. They're sometimes a little dusty, so when I've used this one, now it falls out all the time. So every time I open the palette, there's just like a ton of gold eyeshadow everywhere, which is not fantastic, is it? But it's like a teeny tiny little like gripe that I have about the entire palette. So anyway, these have got a really, really good colour payoff. So you genuinely don't need a lot on your brush in order to get that colour onto your eye, which is a great thing, because that means that the shadows are going to last a lot longer because you're not using as much of it. You don't have to use as much of it. And if you're using a really good base, like one of the P. Louise bases, which you've heard me talk about them before, these are the P. Louise bases. If you're using a really good base like that, then the colour payoff is even better. And, you know, you find it hard to believe that because it's so good without them. So yeah, it's vegan and cruelty free as well, which is another massive tick in the box, isn't it? And again, they are super blendable, just like the other ones that I've kind of listed. These last a long time now, and like I said about the Modern Renaissance palette with the like the pinks and the reds, these will stain your eyes as well, particularly the blues and the pinks. I've found when I've sort of like got a brush, I mean, for instance, that's a white brush This is no longer white, it's red, or sort of like neon red, and that's this one's fault. So yeah, just be warned that they have a tendency to stain your brushes and your face as well. So bear that in mind. They are really blendable though. It's the same as when I was talking about the Juvia's Place palette. Of course, you're using a highly pigmented eyeshadow, you think that you're going to struggle to blend it out because you're packing so much colour on that you might worry that you can get the edges to blend, but that is genuinely not the case with palettes like these. Even though the pigments are incredibly deep and intense, you can still blend them out. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that. You've got loads of bright shades. Now, you know I like my colour, so I tend to buy palettes that have got shades like this, but like rainbow shades, that's just me. But it's not to say that it isn't for everybody, because you've got like sort of still got the transition shade, the transition shades in there that you'd use for sort of like natural looks, and you've got some really nice, more subtle bright colours like the coral, and like a pastel-y purple kind of colour, so you've still got options there. And there's 3 shades in here as well that you can use for highlighter, so that is, it's hard to read and show, like show and tell. Oh my god, see what I mean? I've just put my fingernail in it and now it's going to get absolutely everywhere. It's not unnormal for me to be covered in eyeshadow and shit. So anyway, yeah, so there's Muffin, and there is Marine and Minty. And if I just do a bit of a swatch, so Muffin is kind of like a pearly pink kind of colour. I mean, that's really helpful, Tina, isn't it? That I think we'll do it on the back of that. Yeah, so Muffin is kind of like a pearly kind of pinky tone. Marine, now these are a bit dusty because they're pressed pigments, so you do have to be a little bit careful when you get them out, if you're getting them out with your fingers. So Marine is like a blue toned metallic. They show up so well, don't they? And then you've got Minty, which I don't know whether you can guess. It's minty. It's green. Yeah, so you've got Minty, which is like a green metallic. You can really see the colour difference between all 3 there. So yeah, so there's Muffin, Marine and Minty. So you've got 3 really nice metallic shades that you can use as highlighters as well. But there are also other metallic shades, like you've got this one called Mega, which is like a purple blue, and I always find they look completely different on the skin than they do in the pan. So this is sort of a metallic blue. I mean, the camera's not picking it up great, but it's got like a kind of purple flick to it, which is really nice. And sorry, I've got a towel behind me because I'm genuinely like sparkling. And then there's a pink, like a foil kind of hot pink there, which is just superb when it goes on, but you can see how deep that colour is. It really does stick out. Like, that's just one swipe of my finger, that's it. Like, I'm not having to pack a load of colour on. There's no priming base or anything on there. It's just that shade, and it's not opaque at all. It's really got kind of like a thick colour payoff. Really, sort of like really intense. I don't know if you can see when I wipe it off, I've still kind of got like a bit of pink left. So I've had it on my skin for like 10 seconds and it's already stained it. Okay, so that brings me to my number 1. This is my absolute all-time favourite palette. Before I got the Mitchell palette, this is the one that I used all the time. And I still do love it. I don't love it any less. It's just the Mitchell palette. You know what it's like when you get something new. There's like this novelty and you like use the crap out of it, don't you? So, but this is genuinely my all-time favourite palette. I love that it is so versatile. I love that it's got every single shade you could possibly want in there. There is 30 matte shades and 10 high pigment shimmers, and it's also got 3 highlighters, like bigger pan size highlighters as well, so you're really getting your money's worth. It's the Carnival XL Pro palette, so not to be confused with the Carnival palette. It's by Be Perfect Cosmetics, in line with Stacey Marie MUA. If you've not seen Stacey's work, I highly recommend, if you have an interest in makeup, I highly recommend that you go and take a look at Stacey's either Facebook page or Instagram page. That's Stacey Marie MUA. She is phenomenal. She's one of the best makeup artists that I've come across in all the time that I've been doing makeup myself. She doesn't do clients, I don't think, anymore. She specifically teaches. She's that good, she just teaches it now. But she started her own line of makeup products with Be Perfect Cosmetics, and the first palette that they came out with was the Carnival palette, just Carnival. This is the next step up, and it's the Carnival XL Pro. This is £42 from the Be Perfect website. They do sell out really quickly, and I did struggle to get it for a while at first, but I think when I checked it last time they still had some in stock. It's cruelty free as well, which again is another tick in the box. So it's got 30 matte eyeshadows and 10 high pigment shimmers, and also the 3 highlight shades which are here. It's got every colour you could possibly want, and they're all kind of like set out in colour themes. So, you know, your oranges, reds, pinks, then you sort of got like your purples, greens, blues, and then you've got more sort of, this section of the palette is more sort of like your neutral, natural shades that you'd use for like warm, smoky eyes and things like that. But there's just so many bright shades in there. That was obviously the reason that I was drawn to it in the first place, because of me with my sort of like weird colour obsession. It's a good palette because you've not just got those bright shades. It's not like buying, for example, the Morphe Bright palette. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like the bright one. But that's just bright shades. You're not having to sacrifice one for the other. So you're buying a palette that is full of bright shades, but it's also got the more sort of like neutral shades in that you know, like your everyday use. Which is one of the things that makes it so worthwhile, so good value for money. £42, whilst it sounds pretty expensive, like I say, you're getting 43 eyeshadows / highlighters, and these pan sizes are obviously 3 times as big as the normal eyeshadow sizes. It's got minimal fallout, so you're not sort of using that kind of like dusty eyeshadow where you put it on and then it drops onto your face and that's it, it's gone, it's not on your lid. It's got the same sort of quality colour payoff as the Mitchell palette, so it's really intense pigment, which means you don't really need to use a lot. You use next to nothing. You kind of dip your brush in, put it on, and it's just there, like it's really in your face, intense pigment. If you're using it, I always recommend using bright colours and palettes like this. I always recommend using them on a sticky base first. So like with a concealer or the P. Louise base, you kind of like put it on and then you pat it in with the brush. You don't set it with a powder or anything. You leave it, you just sort of like work with it until it goes slightly tacky. So it's not dry to the touch, but it's also not wet. When you can't sort of see that like wet sheen on it anymore, that's kind of like when you know it's ready to work with. And you find that the colours then, when you use a shadow over the top of it, it sticks really well. You can still blend it out, but it sticks super well, and it gives you the most intense colour payoff by doing it that way. So yeah, make sure that base is nice and sort of like sticky, not really dry, because that's, like I say, when you'll get the best colour payoff, the best result using a sticky base, definitely. So if I just swatch some of the highlighters for you, so as you can see, you've got those shimmer shades, which are nice kind of like foil shimmer shades. There's one for every sort of colour scheme going off there as well. Some of them are absolutely beautiful, like the shade Peppermint. I mean, that's like a minty green metallic. And then you've got a similar one to what was in that palette, like the purpley blue kind of metallic. And then they've got these gorgeous, there's Orchid, which is this sort of purple flip. And then you've got Pink Me, which is a pink flip. And I'll just show you those. So that's Orchid. It's got like this pinky purple sort of luminescent flip to it, which is just so pretty. And then there's Pink Me, which is a very similar shade to the Orchid, but it looks white in the pan. And it's almost sort of clear on the skin, but flips pink. So it's not really very visible on the back of my hand there, but you can see it's got this beautiful flip to it. And then the highlighters, then you've kind of like got a sort of a light gold, then you've got a medium kind of like bronzy glow, and then there's sort of the darker tan glow there. So Fair Play, that's kind of like a gold flip. These are nice pigmented ones as well, which kind of like everybody wants from the highlighter, don't they? They want that kind of like super shine. That's what I like. Not so much Tin Man. You know, you don't want to put it all over your face and be Tin Man, unless you do, which is is also fine. But I do like that kind of, that real shine. I don't like a glittery highlight or a dusty highlight, or one that kind of like makes you look pale. It kind of leaves it ashy sort of like sheen on your face, which isn't not what I would think is like a nice effect. Or when it's like really glittery and then it kind of looks daft. I like it where it's sort of like this one. This is the Barry M Tri-Blend highlighter that I've got on today. That's my new favourite. But just it gives that sort of like really nice shine. So I find that's what these are like. They're not too glittery, they're not dusty, and they don't leave that kind of like ashy effect on you either. So Fair Play then, that's like the sort of gold, the light gold shade, because it's kind of like a yellow toned gold. It'll suit yellow toned skin mostly. Then you've got Gold Luxe, which is kind of like the bronze gold. And I tend to find that the darker the highlighter, the darker you really need your skin. So Gold Luxe, you could probably get away with doing kind of like a bronze contour kind of like highlight with that. So that's that one. I guess it's more kind of skin toned. So same as I say, if you do like a bronze highlight, like a bronzer / highlighter, it would probably work best for that. And then you've got Over It, which is a darker bronze. It's kind of got a more coppery tone to it. That's that one there. And I would think that would suit darker skin tones better. So the lighter your skin, the lighter the shade of highlighter I would go. But it's got all the essentials. So it's got a nice creamy white, it's got your greys, your blacks, so you've got that good monotone, neutral selection. Then you've got your warm brown selection as well, so you can get away with doing smoky eyes, neutral eyes, natural eyes, and then you've also got all your pops of colour. You can have natural pinks, natural blues. You can sort of like mix and match in that palette. There's so many shades to work with, and you know, 43 powders in that palette is genuinely not pricey at 42 quid, because you're sort of like looking at less than £1 per pan when you think about it, and that obviously has to cater for your packaging and everything like that. So it's really good value for money. It's cruelty free and dead blendable, pigmented and everything. That is what makes it my favourite, because you can do anything with this palette. No matter what I come across on Instagram that I want to replicate, there's always a colour in this palette that I can use. And it's this palette that I've used today. I've used a green eyeliner, which are just these kind of like, let me show you actually. They're these, what? I can't even pronounce the name. It's QI Best. Vivid Bright's coloured eyeliners. I just got these. I got a massive set of like bright coloured eyeliners for 20 quid on Amazon. And sometimes I'm a bit wary of using cheap makeup, but in this instance I was like, yes. Because I was wanting to do rainbow looks at the time, so I was like, I needed to get some sort of eyeliners. And I'd recently bought the Jeffree Star rainbow they did it in Aid of Pride, the liquid lipsticks, and I was initially going to try and use those as eyeliners, but then I came across these, like I say, on Amazon for 20 quid, and I thought, yeah, give them a go. And they're actually really good. The brushes, when you get them though, are kind of like plasticky, so you have to really sort of like work it around on a different surface first to get rid of this like plasticky coating that it's got on it. Anyway, so I'm just going to throw in a bonus palette for you now. And my bonus palette is the Candy Cosmetics glitter palette. That's why it's a bonus palette, because it's not an eyeshadow palette, it is a glitter palette. But I do believe, rather than having sort of all these tiny little pots, even though the glitters are great from Stargazer and Barry M and stuff, rather than having all these tiny little pots that you have to actively mix with a glitter glue, it's a lot easier to have said glitters in a palette that are already pre-pressed, pre-glued. And there is so many to choose from in here. It's just a dream. So yeah, this is $18.99 from Candy Cosmetics. But as always, if you want to purchase this palette, go and have a look on Candy's website. And if you decide at $18.99 that you do want to purchase it, go to checkout, and in the promo code box, you want to put Christina30, and that will get you 30% off. So you're actually getting a really good saving from that, considering it's sort of cheap anyway. They've also got loads of other things going off on there. They've got some fantastic skincare. They've got these workout face masks, which contain some sort of snail secretion, which sounds gross, but it's actually really, really good for your skin. And it really helps to tighten pores and things. So I can't recommend Candy's skincare enough. And especially the glitter palette, because this is how I discovered Candy Cosmetics initially, was in search of something like this. And I came across it, and I hadn't found one similar with any other company that was as cheap, and I thought, I need that. There's 35 colours in there, and it's cruelty free as well. So obviously, again, another tick in the box. So they're pre-glued, you don't need to use any glue with them. It's all done, all ready for you to use. So yeah, so there are some shades in here that have got like a really nice multicoloured tone to it. So there's like a blue that's got hints of purple and gold in it. So you've got this kind of like multicoloured shine going off with a blue base, but it kind of flips gold and purple. And I love any glitters that are kind of like iridescent like that. What else? There are so many nice ones. There's a really sort of like baby pink that's really nice, and then there's a pink that has got like an iridescent flip to it as well. I'll show you that one. The fact that they're pre-glued as well, it just makes life so easy. So you can see it's kind of like pink, but it's got a gold flip to it. That's also really nice. There's a really nice rose gold kind of colour. There's a lot of variety in terms of gold and silver. You've got a couple of silvers. There's like 3 silvers, but they are all different in the fact that this is kind of like a really fine silver, and then it gets a bit chunkier and even chunkier on that one. So you've got like a different texture for each of them. There's a white glitter that's got an iridescent kind of like green gold flip to it as well, which is very similar to the Lit Cosmetics Barbie Shops glitter that I rave on about, that I use so often. It's just this kind of like, it's like a clear see-through white with this greeny goldy pink kind of flip to it, which looks really nice with a warm brown smoky eye, I found. And there's also a pink that's got like a green flip going on, which is there. Again, it's like greeny gold. And then just one last one that I'll show you. You know I love neon. I have neon on my face. Well, this is like a yellow green neon. I love this one. It's really bright. Especially, you know, one of these palettes have come in handy, especially for like festival season. if you're one of these that likes the glitter and the gems all over your face when you go to things like that, then one of these kinds of palettes will come in real handy for you. And I think at $18.99 to have such a varied choice of glitter, like you've not just got the plain colours, you've not just got a pink and a purple and a blue and a green, you've got pinks and purples, blues and greens that have also got another one that matches it that's got a different flip to it, so like a pink with a green flip and that kind of thing. Anything that's a bit weird and wonderful, you know, that I like. Again, Christina 30 at checkout will get you even more money off, so you don't have to pay the $18.99, which is always a bonus. So anyway, that's all I've got for you, those palettes. I hope that that's given you some kind of like incentive to want to buy one, because they are phenomenal. Like, I wouldn't list them and I wouldn't say this is my favourite and I like this one as well and I like this one as well if I didn't genuinely like them. I love them, I use them all the time. They are my go-to palettes to use on you guys and myself when I do eye looks. I've spent so much money going sort of like into the stores like Superdrug and buying all the kind of like little Revolution palettes and things like that. I've spent so much money doing it that way, trying to find, you know, buying a palette for the sake of needing a pink or whatnot, and then I kind of decided one day that it was time to stop messing around and actually spend just a little bit more money. If you're kind of in that scenario like I was, I would say take the jump and buy something that's a bit more expensive, because you do get your value. You do get your money's worth when you spend it on these kinds of palettes. You get so many choices, so much variation, and I cannot express to you the difference that it will make to your makeup, to you doing your makeup, obviously, particularly eye looks. I used to get really frustrated using the really cheap, crappy eyeshadow palettes. I'd get so frustrated when I first started out because they weren't very pigmented. So I was putting it on, blending it, and it blends straight out. And then I'd get really frustrated with myself. Like, it was making me doubt my ability, thinking that it was me that wasn't very good. Until I got I spent a bit more money and I got a slightly better palette, and then I was like, oh, it's not me, it's the makeup. And I've always said that all along, investing in, obviously if it's something that you're hugely interested in, because if not, then it's kind of like a waste of time, isn't it? But investing in like the good quality tools and good quality products will make a massive difference to the makeup that you do on yourself. Hugely. I cannot express it enough. And skincare, we always have this conversation. Skincare, looking after your skin and making sure you've got a proper base going off before you start trying to put stuff on top of it, that will make a massive difference to you. I know that lockdown's been tough, and you know, a lot of people have felt really crap about themselves because they've not been able to have the hair done, get the lashes done, the nails done, have the makeup done, whatever, you know, because some people hold on to that as a confidence boost. They use that to help them feel better about themselves, which is ace. That's excellent. If that's something that works for you, don't be ashamed. One of my pet peeves is when people say, oh, I don't wear makeup. You look silly wearing makeup, or, you know, it's too much and whatnot. I get comments. I get a lot of comments. I had one on YouTube the other day, actually. Somebody said, oh, it's not for me. It's lovely, it's beautiful, but it's not for me. It's too much makeup and takes too much time. That's fine if that's how you feel. If it takes too long for you, and that's, you know, that's how you feel, that's absolutely fine. That's no reflection on me, though. That's no reflection on you. If you like to wear full face of makeup when you leave the house, if you don't feel like you can leave the house without it, then that's fine. I don't think anybody has the right to tell you what you can and cannot wear on your face, on your body. Nobody has that right. If it makes you happy and it makes you feel good about yourself, that is all that matters. If you want to spend a shit ton of money on makeup because it makes you feel good, it's your hobby and you like doing it, then do it. That's fine. Well, as long as you've got the money, obviously. Don't get yourself into debt. You know, that's fine. That's what you want to do. It's just like anybody else that has a hobby, whether they knit or play sport or fishing, you know, when they spend a ton of money on that, that's what they like to do. That's their hobby. You know, somebody could take 3 days to knit a pair of socks. I'm not going to sit here and say, no, that's too long, I haven't got time for that, because you do make time for something that you enjoy. So don't feel bad about sitting in front of the mirror for 2 hours doing your makeup. That's fine. If it takes you 2 hours, it takes you 2 hours. You know, a lot of people enjoy the process as well. I do. I enjoy the process. Sometimes I genuinely can't be arsed though. If I'm tired or like frustrated, hot, whatever, stressed, sometimes sitting in front of the mirror for an hour is a huge ball ache and I can't be asked to do it. But there are other times where sitting in front of the mirror for 2 hours is the only thing that I have got going for me that day that will help me feel a bit better. That's just how it is. And I don't think there's any shame in that. And I don't think that anybody has the right to comment on how long it takes or, you know, what you look like when it's you that's wearing it and it's making you feel better. So if, you know, I hope that some of these things that I've shown you today will benefit you if you're struggling with your makeup game and you're thinking, this is shit, I don't know what I'm doing. Honestly, change your tools and change your products. Invest, spend a little bit more money on some things that are a little better quality. There are loads of things on the high street. There are loads of cheap, you know, budget and kind of products which are great and they are brilliant, but you don't want to be spending hundreds of pounds to get to the point where you have to find that out. So I genuinely think getting a guarantee, especially from me on this video, I'm, you know, being completely honest with you. If you want to guarantee a decent palette with a lot of variety, try one of these, try one of them, and I can honestly, hand on heart, say that it probably will change the way that you do your makeup. The better the quality, the better the result. Anyway, hopefully I'll get some more of these videos filmed. I've only got, like I say, a couple to go, the bronzer and the highlighter and all that shizzle, so hopefully I'll get them filmed and get them done for you. If there's anything specifically you want to see, I showed you my new skincare routine on my last video. So if you're interested in having a look at some more of those products in better detail, or perhaps you want to see how I prep on my skin at night, that's another thing, because obviously your morning and night routines do change ever so slightly. If you're interested in seeing that, let me know. One video I haven't done yet is an intricate eye look, and I am keen to get one done, but you know what I'm like, some of them are so crazy it might not be something that you want to see, because I found that people generally want to see more of the kind of like neutral, natural makeup, ones that you can replicate yourself. But if you're interested in how I do my mental eye looks, then leave a comment below and let me know, because I am keen to get one of those videos done for you, just to show you the lengths that I go to create those eyes, because believe you me, some of them take about 4 hours to do. That's dedication right there. That is. That's not sitting in front of the mirror for an hour getting ready to go out. That's dedication. Anyway, hope you're all well and safe, and looking forward to getting back to the pub, because that's coming up shortly and I know people are super excited. I still can't open, but I'm hopeful for the end of July, so do keep your fingers crossed for me, and hopefully I can see you guys soon. I still haven't heard anything. I don't know if you guys have watched my video yet, but about models. I've got, like I say, a couple of people on my books, but if you're interested in doing a bit of modelling for me when I am opening my books again, then please let me know. Send me a message and drop your details so that I can get in touch with you when I am taking everybody back on board. Anyway, take care of yourself, guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.